live from the Facebook of Aviva Publishing House. Are we good? Yes. Okay. So I am Flo Mesa Espina from Aviva Publishing House Incorporated, and we're glad that you could join us today. We hope you're having a pleasant day so far. Grab your coffee, find a comfortable seat because we got you covered for the next 2 hours. We just want to remind you that you may type in your questions on the comment section as we go through the presentations, so we can read your questions during the Q&A portion. And don't forget to write your name if you're using another Facebook name. Type in your name and the name of your school so we can recognize your school. Okay. Right now we have, okay. So also as a reminder, you will be given your e-certificates for those who registered through the link. We're giving you until 10 o'clock today to register if you haven't registered yet. And the link is found here on the Facebook page. So we will give you the e-certificates by next week. Okay, so let's begin the program. Welcome to the CYPHER Learning Digital Education Leadership Forum in partnership with Aviva Publishing House Incorporated. Today's program focuses on the challenges of leading digital education initiatives for schools in the Philippines. We will learn how next-generation learning platforms can aid in the digital transformation of schools. We are joined this morning by panelists who will share their experiences and approaches in designing and delivering flexible learning using a care-centered model for online learning and making resilient and future-ready schools. So let's take a look at our panel. Here's a quick look at our distinguished panel of school leaders and executives. We are fortunate to have them share their wisdom and experiences in implementing digital learning in their schools and hopefully in your schools as well. So we hope that got you excited. So let's begin the program with some words from none other than a man of vision, the president of Aviva Publishing House Incorporated, Mr. Jorge Aviva Garcia.
Okay, I'm on. Welcome, good morning to everybody in this Zoom conference together with our FB Aviva fan page. Mr. Armando Rangel, Vice President for Sales of Edtech CYPHER Learning. Dr. Emmanuel James Patagguan, the Vice President for Academics, University of St. Louis Tuguegarao. To Dr. Marco Saez, the Vice Chancellor for Academics, Research, De La Salle University, Dasmarinas. Dr. Abegayle Perez-Chua, the Vice President for Academic Affairs, University of Batangas. And our partners at NEO CYPHER Learning and Aviva Publishing House. And to the Board of Directors of Aviva who are now watching. Pleasant Friday morning to all. The educational sector of the Philippines and in the rest of the whole world is still feeling the effects of the COVID-19 virus. It has negatively affected academic institutions and publishing houses. In basic education, enrollment shifted either to DepEd schools or the homeschool system. And currently the physical enrollment in private schools, especially in K-12, declined drastically. However, academic institutions that have a strong educational technology in place will survive the pandemic, as beforehand, they see where the future is going. Despite the lockdown and non-face-to-face policy brought by SARS COV-2 or COVID-19, education should continue either from the home or schools, colleges, and universities. Other countries with low infections of COVID-19 like Vietnam, Macau, New Zealand, and Japan have resumed their classes with safe health guidelines in place. The Filipino student cannot be left behind by its neighbors, as our general assessment results was low in pre-COVID-19 times. For Aviva Publishing to meet the demands of education in these trying times, we saw the need of a good learning platform to deliver our published educational resources. The Aviva team met, discussed, and evaluated the LMS from CYPHER Learning, and it was decided that we form an alliance in distributing the NEO Learning Management System before the school opening in August 24. As a way for Aviva Publishing to assist the schools to cope up and level up our alliance with CYPHER Learning by offering the NEO LMS because it is the world's best learning platform for schools and universities. It has easy navigation and the management and creation of all learning activities is a welcome feature for the teacher or professor, as they are our frontliners in education. Aviva Publishing House looks forward to a better education in the new normal landscape with NEO LMS. Thank you and mabuhay tayong lahat. Good morning to all.
Thank you, Sir George, for that inspiring message. And now we proceed with our forum proper. Our first panelist will discuss next generation learning platforms for schools. He is the Vice President of Sales and Edtech for CYPHER Learning, a company that specializes in providing learning platforms for organizations around the world. He has had years of experience in the education field, providing consultancy services to schools and helping them develop and implement strategies for technology and e-learning inclusion. Let's all welcome Mr. Armando Rangel.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. Can you hear me right now? Perfect. So it's always a pleasure to have this opportunity to join these events, great events, fantastic events. I'm based in Mexico now, so I'm in the other side of the world, which is a beautiful thing to have. I've been there in the Philippines different times and always having fantastic time with the teachers in the Philippines, with good friends, good partners that we have for the region. I'm going to start this talk, this speech, with a very short presentation, hopefully not that boring. And it's about the next generation learning platforms for schools. But the most important part I want to take over is let's think about how that technology will impact right now with the actual situation we're facing worldwide. So first of all, mabuhay. That's the way I've learned. It's part of the formality in the Philippines. So I really appreciate to say also hello, ¿cómo está? And in my language, ¿cómo están? Hopefully very well and enjoying this time to share ideas and share this experience. I'm coming from a global world, a global experience that have taught me different things, and my experience right now is to try to understand what happened in the last couple of months, which is a very challenging moment. We've been talking about the future of technologies, the future of where we're going as a society for education, how we can empower the teachers, how we can provide a better experience on learning. And suddenly we start thinking in different ways of doing that. We understand that there's different generations, different challenges. We understand where we're coming, where we are in terms of technology right now. And when we realize that finally we found the alternative, guess what? We are here now. What happened with this technology? We're facing this situation now. Due to a real situation and a challenge that we're facing with COVID, this is the atmosphere in our houses. So suddenly, from the highest level of technology, now we're finding this reality where kids and parents are struggling with the challenges, and we were not prepared for this situation. So I have this video from PwC. Let's think and let's listen what happened and what's their thought about what's going on.
The impact of technology being so pervasive, the option of going digital really isn't an option anymore. Any digital transformation journey can be a very challenging one. There's the human element, it's not just about the technology. To me, I see some of the biggest challenges companies have is actually moving fast enough and also managing the risks of going digital right from the start. So a starting point is, what is the business strategy? Secondly, how do I increase my overall knowledge and skill sets within the organization? And then thirdly, how do I, in practice, apply those technologies to drive positive benefit going forward? It's really important to understand the implications of what could go wrong in that environment. And that means there needs to be the ability for that human override. So it's pulling together the leadership, the people, the processes and systems that support it, and also the underlying technology, not just today's technology, but also in
One of the challenges of this technology right now is that the future is not in the future. It's now, and we need to keep moving on this reality and the situations we have right now. And there's different alternatives and training alternatives that we can bring into the table. So, and you know that now we have adaptive learning technologies, competency-based learning, gamification, micro-learning, machine learning, different ways of compliance, e-commerce. But the main challenge is not only in the technology. The main challenge is in the real experience and the real adoption of this technology throughout the process of empowering our teachers. So we need to transform them in real delivers on what they can achieve. And there's no more alternative right now. We have to face this situation and as it is right now. And we need to be conscious that the age of digital is not in the future anymore. It's impacting our economy. It's impacting our environment right now. It has a social impact right now and a human impact. It's time to transcend in the present. So we cannot talk about technology or platforms for the future. Right now, it's about the technologies and the best technologies that we can implement right now for the challenge we have right now. So let me just go very fast here. I'm sorry, I just lost the. So the challenge right now is specifically on the different platforms and technologies that we have, and the way we're gonna implement them in the near future. So let me share also with you part of the experience that we have found right now. So the challenge is how to approach to this digital transformation now. And this is about inclusive technology that can be provided through different devices, personalized learning, different ways to trigger actions, automation, and even intelligence. So through different adaptive learners and various automation strategies that we can provide in a simple and beautiful way for the world. I'm gonna share my screen right now. One of those technologies is related on how we can teach now. AI, the experience of having at different levels, different approach, the experience of Netflix, these new technologies where learning is not only focused on developing one skill or one specific course, but different goals, different kind of activity certifications through technology. Right now, the platforms of the future that we're working right now is that platform that based on competencies can provide the services to understand where the students are, where the people are, and relate the best content possible depending on how we can develop those competencies for that people. So the most important part is how we can really relate fantastic content with the best platform in the world, and then provide that content to the specific requirements and needs that the students and learners are asking for, not exactly based on a standardized curriculum. It's important because we still need to certificate these people. But the other part is how we're gonna understand that this competency-based learning is now directed also from what the student is requiring. It's like a learning under demand, but based also still in the standards that we have established from the schools and required to get right now, not exactly only a career, but a certification, a competency, and different skills that will be provided through this connection, like what we're doing right now with the Viva, for great content related with competency-based learning and a fantastic platform that can integrate different analytics, different ways of gamifying that learning, and also the way to predict how the students are gonna bring that knowledge through different alternatives, different characteristics, and different ways of learning, from those visuals, from those moving into the AI very fast. So we're very happy that now we have the opportunity to collaborate with a huge organization, a great corporation in the Philippines. If you don't mind, I would like also to proceed with a certificate and to a process that we have defined as part of this presentation. I'm not sure if you have the certificate there, Arlene. So we're very honored as CYPHER Learning to build strategic partnerships worldwide with cutting edge technology, but also with disruptive solutions in terms of publishing, in terms of engaging content, and different strategies that are being provided also to empower teachers in the best way possible, but not only teachers, but communities and organizations that are very conscious that this reality we have with COVID right now is challenging us to have not only the best content possible, but the best strategy and technology, and build collaborative solutions for the world. So I'm very honored to grant also from CYPHER Learning this certificate to Aviva Publishing House as part of this relationship that for a long term and for this disruptive time that we're facing, to Aviva Publishing House. So thank you very much, and hopefully you can accept this certification and start working together for the market of the Philippines, for the challenges in the Philippines that right now it's a perfect timing. We are facing and providing an opportunity to really, really empower teachers, learners, and the most important part, the students that are waiting for a real solution in the country. So thank you very much. And thank you for giving me this space to share, and muchas gracias from Mexico.
May we request Sir George to please turn on his video, and may we hear your response, sir? Yes, Sir George.
Hey.
Please go ahead.
I didn't know you were Mexican, Senor Rangel.
Yes, soy mexicano.
Yeah,
Not from Mexico, Pampangas, but the other side of the...
I should have brushed up on my Spanish. Anyway, thank you very much for giving us this partnership and this opportunity to be one of your resellers for the Philippines. And the certificate is just going to be a good reminder for us of our basic duties and our responsibility to promote NEO LMS as a product of CYPHER Learning. And we have already started our training with our staff here in the Philippines. So I hope that we will be online already. And there are already schools that have been already, I should say, informed of this new platform. So maybe by next week, we will have presentations to the different schools, colleges, and universities also. Thank you very much, Senor Armando Rangel.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you,
this collaboration.
Thank you, Mr. Rangel and Mr. Garcia. We now have more than 3,000 viewers live, watching us live. We'd like to remind you again and invite you to post your questions on the comments box as we go through the presentation. So we will have a Q&A portion later, and we may ask your questions then. So please post them on the comment section. Now, before we proceed with the second part of the forum, let us now watch a short video to learn more about NEO LMS.
Educators can choose from a variety of EdTech tools to enhance their classroom activities. But with so many options available, technology can sometimes get overwhelming. You start by using one tool to create class content, another to assess students, then another one for collaboration, and things can easily get out of control. Instead of saving time using technology, teachers end up spending more time switching between apps, moving data from one system to another, and trying to make various tools work together. There is actually a simpler, better way of teaching and learning online. NEO is a learning platform for schools and universities that provides all the essential tools for creating and managing learning activities. With an intuitive design, NEO makes learning an enjoyable experience for students and enables teachers to expand their activities beyond the classroom walls. Educators can build engaging classes suited for their teaching style without any technical knowledge and include their favorite resources and media files. With NEO, teachers can easily evaluate what students learn in classes using a variety of assignments such as quizzes, essays, debates, and more. Assessment is simplified using our grading tools and assignment types, and educators can keep all student results centralized in the gradebook. Teachers can get instant analytics on student progress and quickly identify areas where they might need additional help. To increase student mastery of subjects, teachers can define the skills and knowledge they should acquire through classes, then track on a competency basis how well they understand the concepts. Educators can make classes more dynamic and adapted to their needs using advanced innovative functionalities such as automation and adaptive learning. You can trigger automated actions and personalize what content students see in classes based on their progress. Students have an enjoyable experience with NEO. Earning points and badges in games makes learning more fun and engaging. Also, being able to access NEO on any device makes students more self-directed learners and involved in activities even when they are not at school. Sign up now for a 14-day free trial and join the millions of happy NEO users.
Thank you for that. So we now proceed with the second part of our forum. Our next panelist holds a doctorate degree in philosophy, major in development education. He likewise finished most of the academic subjects for another degree, Doctor of Philosophy in Biology from St. Mary's University. He completed his master's degree in biological sciences as a FAPE scholar, graduating cum laude from the University of Santo Tomas. He has been trained on school leadership, administration, and supervision at St. Louis University, Baguio City, and on public administration from University of St. Louis, Tuguegarao, both of which are postgraduate certificates. He rose from the ranks as high school teacher to head of natural sciences, advisor of the Supreme Student Council, dean of student affairs, external affairs officer, human resource management officer, vice president for administration, academic dean, and now vice president for academics of the University of St. Louis, Tuguegarao. As proof of his integrity and expertise as a professional and educator, he was chosen accreditor of the Philippine Accrediting Association of Schools, Colleges, and Universities, or PAASCU, a regional quality assessment team member, and the national assessor of the Commission on Higher Education in its institutional sustainability assessment, where he was always designated as team leader. Last year, he was designated by CHED as one of 8 members of the technical working group providing advice to the said agency for quality assurance and sustainability in schools. He conducts retreats, recollections, friendship seminars, leadership trainings, environmental advocacies, team building, parenting seminars, and teacher trainings, among others, the latest of which include National Parenting Seminar by the Commission on Population, a National Leadership Seminar by the Association of Business Schools offering office management, a national seminar on professionalizing office management by the PAA-POPI, and institutional sustainability assessment by the CHED. Recently, he delivered a talk at the Development Academy of the Philippines to Philippine school administrators on the 21st century education paradigm. He is married to Dr. Lailani Vicente Patagguan, Assistant Principal and Science Teacher of the University of St. Louis Junior High School, with whom he has 4 children named after DNA, the molecule deoxyribonucleic acid. They are David Nino Angelo, Diane Nina Angeli, Dinah Nicole Ann, Danica Neil Angeline. Ladies and gentlemen, to present Leading Flexible Learning Solutions, Dr. Emmanuel James Patagguan.
Arlene. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Okay, so good morning, everyone. I hope I can be heard now. So I was asked by CYPHER Learning to share our experience as a university. And so I'd like, first of all, to do little preliminaries. I'd like to greet the president of ABIVA, Mr. George Garcia, and also the staff of the said company. Also, for the first time, I'd like to mention that I've heard of Yuri from Miss Jen Padernal every now and then. And finally, I've seen you at least uh, personally, although of course it's in the net. And the whole staff of CYPHER Learning, where we, University of St. Louis of Tuguegarao, got our platform. And my sharing is going to be very quick, although important details, I'd like to alert the participants that we can communicate with each other. I'm one administrator who is always active electronically and otherwise. And that's why I always have to say, even yesterday in our preliminary meetings with the organizers of this webinar, that I'm as excited to share with you our beautiful experiences in our university. Uh, well, especially in the context of flexible learning and our experience over 3 years, we're counting the 4th year with the use of NEO LMS. We are in a situation where we are really faced with the COVID-19. And just like this screen that you see in here now, this is our situation, also telling us the diversity in the world, and probably in the context of our schools, we also have diverse teachers as there are also diverse learners. And interestingly, using mask will always be necessary as part of protocol. And this mask, I'd like to say that after my sharing, we shall have unmasked beautiful experiences with online learning or in general of flexible learning. I'd like to specifically also mention that all our schools have been challenged with different developments in education that are really disruptive. And let me alert everybody that I did share most of this because I was asked by the Commission on Higher Education in Region 2 and even some parts of the Cordillera Administrative Region to share about our flexible learning experience, which others would really like to follow. So again, let me go back that we had disruptive developments in education of K to 12, which we face squarely, and all the school administrators must be aware that indeed it posed so big a challenge to all of us to really adapt to K to 12. And I must say that after how many years, we have survived K to 12. In higher education, we were also faced with outcomes-based education, where many schools, as an assessor, I'd like to inform that many schools would claim they are outcomes-based schools, but in fact, it's a magic outcomes-based education system they're adopting. But of course, this is just to provide you like an information prior to a better understanding of that experience of flexible learning. Well, we were also faced with the fourth industrial revolution and the continuing challenge of the World Economic Forum that all schools must really train students in terms of different skills like the 2015 before, and now the 2020 challenge of the World Economic Forum, where our economic and education leaders mentioned and identified all of these skills that are necessary to be developed in schools, no, as early as the foundation years or in basic education. And then there was coronavirus. We had this COVID, where, well, the big challenge is, of course, one of those that are really affected. One of those that is affected is, of course, the school sector. And well, I'd like to share with you these realities in the Philippine schools brought about by this COVID. And so, number one, many schools, both basic and higher education, were, quote, unprepared for the pandemic. When the government declared in March ECQ, or that quarantine, the first impact, well, many schools were troubled. How will they continue with the education of the students, especially those who shifted their academic calendar? Like our case, we start in August and end in December, and we start in January and end in May. And so we had like 3 months left for the semester to be completed at that time. But I must say it is a blessing, because more than 3 years ago, we decided to adopt a learning platform that eventually we realized it was indeed a blessing to make that good decision after a benchmarking we did with De La Salle Dasmarinas, where at that time, Jen Padernal of CYPHER Learning used to be connected. And eventually, as I've said, challenged by the fact that there are differences among academic leaders. Well, the vice presidents may not agree, or the deans will not agree, but as VP for academics, I was really persuading them a lot. And well, I brought with me the president of the institution at the time to De La Salle University and see for ourselves how NEO LMS was used by the said institution. And so the rest will be shared to you in the next slides. Number two reality, in the absence of online learning resources or ready resources, for DepEd schools, they made a formula by retaining the last term or the last grading period, and that was like the third grading grade, to be the fourth grading period grade. Well, CHED for its part, at the start, really advocated already the concept of flexible learning. And I'd like to alert everybody that USL has been advocating flexible learning all these years. Number three, some schools opted to pass all students, give a grade of P or an F for pass or failed, which affected other students' points of view. For a while, even our own students in college were also pushing us that they will all be passed. No one will be failed because of the pandemic. But again, we cannot sacrifice quality. It's always been our trust. It's always been our byword that quality should not be sacrificed. And again, we really have to sit down immediately, even while it was really difficult to travel at that time because of the ECQ. We really made it a point that we were able to meet, because at that time there were no Zoom connections with us yet, and it will really be impossible really to really travel and go to school and meet. But eventually we made a way. We are proactive, and we quietly did our assignment and eventually shifted and made it a way that all policies were really ready in time for the immediate implementation of flexible learning. Another reality, some schools opted to go also for online learning, in which they left to the teachers the mechanics on how to go about it, and hence full academic freedom was afforded to their teachers at the expense of the students, because some teachers would have their advanced deadline, some would not be very considerate, or probably some would give a test anytime that they want. which is of course very difficult to do. Some would have free platforms, some would want just the easy way out. Other platforms go to Messenger or probably go to Facebook. Another reality is few schools had to continue using its online learning platform. And in our case, we are really blessed, as I've said, and let me reiterate that buying or subscribing to NEO LMS what was really one of the best and the biggest decisions that we have made so far as a university. Well, some attempted to use the free ones, but I'll be sharing to you why is it that it would not be advisable to have the free ones. Well, we have more of advantages that we use the paid version. And I'll share that as I go along. Now, and probably the most difficult part, I can just imagine the many school administrators listening to us in FB Live. Because you see, even with other school administrators in the country, we exchange notes. Some schools are closing because, well, again, there are no jobs for parents and they cannot send anymore their children to school. That's very sad. But probably we are more sad to hear that there are schools that are also closing. Either that they're not ready to face the new normal, or probably because in their locality, only few students are enrolling. Well, let's take a chance to look at the impact of COVID in our education and why educators and especially the academic leaders must really be very proactive or must really be, well, fast in terms of thinking and very fast in innovating. The coronavirus-related disruption should give educators time to rethink our sector. And true enough, because you see, if the principal, or in the case of a big school like us, if the VP ACAD is not proactive, I tell you, they must still be thinking as of this time. For us in St. Louis, as early as April, we are ready for next school year because we have policies in place which are adjusted from the traditional ones, because we took this chance of having rested and then eventually meeting 2.5 hours of a week when from ECQ we were elevated to GCQ and eventually into MGCQ. We took all these opportunities to restudy our procedures, to restudy all our policies, and eventually I can easily tell you that all our policies are in place and ready to be used for the first semester school year 2020-2021. But in fact, I'd like to tell you that because we have a higher education part of the university, we have a college, that in fact, we are now really implementing the new policies during this short term, or what we call originally would be like the summer term. The second reflection, technology has stepped into the bridge and will continue to play a key role in educating future generations. It is a fact that if a school will not go into technology, that you will be lagging behind. And I tell you, even if I have been traditionally prepared as a teacher education graduate myself, I'd like to tell you that there will always be a difference of the tradition to the technology that we are in. I'm not IT, but as a teacher education graduate, I know my pedagogies, and with my benchmarking sessions, which was shared in the introduction, I did benchmarking in Malaysia, some parts of Thailand, and eventually even in the United States. And in fact, I have seen another paid LMS. I did a day training on Schoology. And well, that is to tell you that if the academic leader is open to all possibilities, he must be able to see all brands of learning platforms, new pedagogies for that matter, that will really work well to the stakeholders and the school or the university in general. Third, reflection: in a world where knowledge is mouse click away, the role of educator must change too. Well, all of these three important bullet points on the impact of COVID to education, we have embraced this. This is part of the World Economic Forum 2020 pronouncement, or gems of wisdom, which schools must really take into consideration. And therefore, because indeed we are really mouse click away in everything that we do, I can tell you I have delivered several webinars already, most of which they are asking me how we did our flexible learning. And this will be part of the measure sharing that I will do, so that all principals are listening to me. Begin to also change already your mind. Change your mind, change your thinking. And it may be old, but think outside of the box. Well, we have seen that in Management 101, that again, what we need in terms of leaders in education today are those who are open to new ways of doing things. Because after all, even me as an advocate of 21st century education will always have to say that it's a continuing challenge, that we must develop the forces among our learners, which many schools I know have not even started for that matter. I'll share a bit more on this as I go along with my presentation. Here, I can tell you that in fact, prior to COVID, the different basic education institutions, or HEIs, or higher education institutions, were only starting and or planning to catch up, making their institutions adapt to the concept of 21st century education. On the right part of the slide, you will know that we really need to develop, as early as their basic education, life and career skills, learning and innovation skills, information, media, and technology skills. And we have embraced this framework for 21st century learning, well, hand in hand with adapting new pedagogies and new modalities of learning. Moving further, well, this is the big framework, which we said that schools must also, if you want to adapt to flexible learning, will now begin to look into your standards and assessments, your curriculum and instruction, the ongoing professional development, or if there were no professional development programs in the past, you must start doing it, and then try to look also into the learning environment. I've been saying all this 2 months because we have continuing programs for our faculty in all levels. And when I say in all levels, really, from kindergarten up to the graduate school, we're doing training for our faculty. Nearly every week, we have 2 training programs to prepare our new and our old or traditional teachers. And I'd like to tell you that now we say St. Louis is not in the school physically, but there's University of St. Louis in the cloud. And I always smile at the thought that when I say there is St. Louis School in the cloud, also because even the administrative processes, believe me, are now also in the cloud. The deans, the principals work as if they're facing the students, and can be a very good input as well. Did you know that we're able to elect our officers for next school year using NEO LMS? Interesting, because you see, now there's a minimal fee students pay for this, and then you can have other accessories, and you can check the icons. I'll show you a little bit of that later on, where the school can be helped not only in terms of academics, but there are also processes by which you can use NEO LMS. Now, I'm not going to discuss en toto this slide here, but just to mention to you that we belong to different generations, even academic administrators or even the leaders, you belong to different generations, and there can be like a detach, or there can be a divide between our learners and us administrators and teachers. So if we are really born before 1980, well, I can easily tell you I'm born 1969. I belong to Generation X. Far from the present generation of learners that we have, the Generation Z of 2001 and 2015. Well, I've been born to just emails and face-to-face meetings, but because I have to be proactive and I have to change my mind, my way of thinking, and my way of administering our school, I really have to adapt to technologies. We have experts in IT. They sit down with us. We have employed them with us. We made them heads of our learning management system, for instance. And that's why it is really very easy. It's just opening your mind to the reality that if you don't know how to operate the laptop, you begin to get a small training, or like subject yourself to a training, because again, you cannot lead a school, much less, no? You cannot lead an online learning school if you yourself as an administrator will not even know what is inside the learning management platform, for instance. So again, our challenge is we're faced with Generation Z, who would like Twitter, who would like to talk about anything under the sun in Zoom, and who would like anything that should really be technology, anything that has to be with gadgets. Well, I also mentioned here because there might be like schools who have also college that, again, even the kind of skills that are required of our Gen Z must also be part of our teaching, and therefore necessarily part of your strategic direction to take. We may have another opportunity later on to talk separately on what skills we really need to develop among our basic education students, probably in another forum. So we're down to what flexible learning is, because you see, even addressing many school administrators recently, some of them have not really embraced flexible learning. But for me, as a very practical school administrator, I can operationally give my own definition by saying that flexible learning is allowing every learner in your school to learn in any way possible, in any part of his home, in any part of the province where he is coming from, at any given time, in any possible opportunity past. So again, flexible learning can be a method. You say it can be a system because we can build in modalities within the flexible learning system. And well, with space, students may be given dedicated breakout rooms to work collaboratively, which in ordinary condition, when you do blended learning in a school setting where there's face-to-face, well, normally the school would have afforded as small spaces where students can do their discussions. But you see, well, St. Louis had several learning halls or learning spaces outside of the classroom, because at that time we said there must really be collaboration because we need to develop the forces of 21st century. And again, now we cannot ask our students to use our learning halls or our learning spaces or our 21st century parks, as I call them, because we put more benches, more tables, so that there are Wi-Fi areas within which students can really do their discussions. But meanwhile, you cannot do that now. But using a platform, there can be group dynamic activities where students can still relate with one another, exchange their thoughts, all built in into the system using our NEO LMS. Well, one of the things I'd like to just mention on flexible learning conceptually would be it refers to the ability to customize one's pace, one's place, and one's mode of learning. Well, I'd like to mention here that I have 4 children as introduced. They are all students of our university, 2 are college, 1 senior high, and 1 junior high. I'd like to alert you that because of several peculiarities, as school administrators, we really have to address these peculiarities or kind of characteristics of our learners based on connectivity, based on learning style. And I can easily pinpoint that 2 of my 4 children, 2 of them are nocturnal learners. They start their lessons at 10 o'clock and sleep after breakfast the next day. The 2 others, they work the whole day and then in the evening take a rest. Now, as a school administrator and a parent, as a father, I can only support my children with the change in their learning styles. And again, going further, because of connectivity, even as school administrators have also to take note that in far-flung towns, because USL is in the city, in far-flung towns, connectivity can be a problem such that learners can only access a good connection in the evening or early in the morning. And so even their learning can also be changed. Now, are you ready to give that opportunity to the learners if they can only learn in the middle of the night or early in the morning? That will be part of the exciting story that I will continue to tell. Again, we are addressing learners who have 3 classifications. Okay, they may belong to fully connected, to partially connected, to no connection at all. See, if you have a fiber connection, your student can easily fully connect. If you kind of work on a mobile data or depend on these telecommunications, then you can be like partially connected. But there are those who do not have even a cell phone and necessarily they're not connected. And flexible learning must address all of these 3 kinds of learners. And that will be part of the story I will continue to tell. Now, I'll share the flexible learning milestones of USL so that you too, as school administrators, especially the school administrators who are listening to me, our journey is beautiful because it is not that if you decide tomorrow to adapt, that you will have good stories to tell. My story is more than 3 years. But even prior to this story of more than 3 years, when we adopted LMS, we had our own stories prior to that of using blended learning. Again, number 1, USL made use of electronic platform of learning based on a system developed by our own people. Well, you know the story is that only the IT people made use of the one that is being developed. Some few others, and I can only count in my fingers, they use free versions of Moodle and Modo. In short, that did not succeed. Number 2, USL, aware of the developments in education and also because of our trust to globalize, we embarked in 2016 the adoption of a platform, the learning management system, that should no longer be the free versions, that should no longer be the ones developed by our people because it was not friendly. The students need to phone in every now and then to be able to get connected or to be able to follow the directions using the developed platform. It's quick, but I'd like to tell you that with LMS, with the NEO LMS, which we adopted eventually after the benchmarking, which I shared earlier, that the beautiful story of our online learning and our flexible learning, for that matter, can be like patterned from, can be your basis as school administrators in making your decisions too. Because, you know, after I did this seminar to Region 2 and some parts of CAR, many schools started to call me up and would like to learn specific details on how we did it. So by adapting learning management system, it was part of our strategic direction as a university to really make our school full 21st century education institution, promoting the development of the skills, especially of learning and innovation, information and media literacy, which is very basic now to all our learners, and of course, life and career. So even all of these three skills of learning, we needed to address hand in hand with introducing technology. We allowed the development of forces, as I've said, and this is basic in all schools. And when you adapt to NEO LMS later on, part of the things that you will really anchor, the kind of pedagogy you will use, and the kind of training that you will use for your teachers will be the development of critical thinking, of communication, creativity, and collaboration. There can be a very static LMS material. You upload your PowerPoint and stops there. But you see, there will be no formal communication of all sorts. You may not develop rather good communication skills because there's no opportunity for exchange of thoughts, whereas technology can allow this to happen. And that's why there can be specific sharing that we can do along this thinking. We also did reforms because we really wanted that when we say we are 21st century education school, then things that we do, our offerings must also be improved. Well, we introduced robotics from kindergarten up to junior high school. And for senior high school, we enhanced it with computer science, and we went higher than what DepEd would prescribe and added more topics because also we wanted our learners to really be 4Cs equipped, one of which is like communication. And we really needed to say that the advantage of USL graduate is he can speak in English, he can speak in Filipino, and must also know one foreign language. And so even that, I tell you, if you say I adapt a 21st century learning skill, we use technology, but hand in hand, there should be curricular reforms as well. Now we have foreign language from elementary up to college. Well,
Dr. Patagguan, maybe we can wrap up.
yeah, okay. So uh, thank you, Flo. Uh, okay. Now, as to wrap up, well, I will just have a rundown of my presentation. Just to mention you now that when I presented our platform using our NEO LMS, well, I was talking a little bit about how we can use all of this. If you see the ad assessment slide in here, there's quiz online and so on. So I think I have shared something else. I hope there will be an opportunity to share even more because it should be interesting to note, no? So I'll make it fast then, just to go to just summary, so as advice. So we made use of NEO LMS as part of our flexible learning arrangement from senior high up to the graduate school. But during the ECQ, we made a little adjustments because elementary and junior high school, well, basically were face-to-face. But eventually, we did modified online, and we made use of other platforms, Messenger, Facebook, emails, among others. And just to show to you, why would we not go into Messenger, Facebook, email? Why go straight to a platform? Well, it should be easy. This is rundown already. I'm making myself quick in the presentation. These are outputs of my daughter in junior high school, which she needs to submit to her teacher via messenger when when LMS was not yet in their system. Because now University of St. Louis, from elementary to graduate school, will adopt NEO LMS. And I'd like to mention here that the difficulty of the teacher receiving 320 papers every day from just one output of, from just one week lesson. And here, well, I would have wished I had more time to tell you this, because you will see that you have put a check on all this NEO LMS, all the things that you would want to happen in the classroom: teaching and learning content, student engagement, assessment monitoring, even learners' privacy. They are all in the platform, which should, again, be the reason why you're adapting to it. No? So I will go now to the last two slides. Forgive me, but when I begin to share good things, I said this to Arlene and the rest yesterday. Uh, well, we wanted that all the rest will also learn from this good experience, hoping I would have longer time to present this to you. Well, as we continue for 2020, 2021, getting feedbacks, because we did a survey to parents, to our students, and our teachers, checking their connectivity, checking their issues, we're able to come up with these actions, which we are now implementing for college so far. USL put up recording rooms for videotaping or recording of lectures. This should be important because, you see, if you use NEO LMS for the elementary, you should be able to adjust your pedagogies. College, you can put your PowerPoint that does not talk. But for elementary or junior high, I'm sure it will be necessary that there would be videotaping of the lecture, or probably a teacher starts to dance and then we record that, because we need to put that in the platform so that the learner can easily understand. Now, we have also helpline and all kinds of help that our students would need, which ordinarily would have been given. We have them. And then, well, other forms of other modalities of our flexible learning, will do correspondence learning. Well, you may have listened to this as part of distance education, and then we also do modular. Therefore, either that we produce the book or the module, or parents may come and get through USB or flash drive the lessons for the week for their children. Number 4, USL will also explore possibilities for schools to train also other schools using LMS. And I can just tell you that we have very good support staff. We have very good leaders of our LMS. And the good news, now we have teacher ambassadors who are models teaching IT or using IT or technology that can easily help us out. And it's easy to train now because every kind of training that we make, there are LMS ambassadors we have identified. USL will also explore more opportunities for continuing development programs. I told you, well, we never stop. Every week, there's training for all levels. It's because you cannot teach your teachers overnight. LMS training, good for one day. But again, we never stop training. We retrain and continue to retrain. Ladies and gentlemen, I would wish to end, and just like the first step of Neil Armstrong and company in the moon in 1969, I was not yet born, July 16. I say that one small step that every educator may take can mean one giant leap for learners in your respective institutions. Think flexible, think online learning, but again, do not forget, because of connectivity, your online learning should be a combination of synchronous or asynchronous ways. By synchronous, this will be my last, because I forgot that. Synchronous, we do it for our examinations. teachers and students all at the same time in the platform. We time the test. There's randomizing the test so that we ensure that the test is like sacred, I'd like to say. And for those who cannot be connected because their connection can only be partial, we do asynchronous exams based on their time. But we have, again, policies in place to address how we should be able to handle those students who learn where connection is strong and those students who learn where there's only partial connection. I can probably entertain questions later on and probably share more stories as we go along. With that as advice, I will end my presentation. Thank you, Abiva, and thank you, CYPHER Learning.
Thank you, Dr. Patagguan. Now, please allow us to share with you the experiences of some Philippine schools with NEO LMS. Let's watch this short video that features a case study for senior high school and college. While we are preparing the video, we'd like to say hello to all.
SCI is one of the largest network of schools in the country, which was founded in 1983. Currently, we have 76 campuses with about 80,000 students, both in senior high school and college. We offer different academic programs, which are industry-based curriculum, and we have different industry-grade facilities, simulation laboratories, and we have certified faculty members. So students nowadays are digital natives, and therefore what we did was, for us to be able to implement LMS across the network, was to support our teachers. So what we did was we gave out trainings, we conducted trainings for our teachers, so to give them an idea what the e-LMS is all about and how they're going to use it. It was something that we wanted to make sure was implemented well from the beginning so that everybody gets to monitor the progress. So the students get to see their progress in the different competencies. The teachers also are able to see the progress of their students. This is a platform wherein the students and the teachers alike are able to collaborate their work, their learning experiences.
Well, since STI is a network of schools and we make use of a standardized curriculum, NEO helps us in distributing courseware materials and giving notifications and announcements to all the campuses of STI. As an administrator, NEO is incredibly helpful because it enables us to do analytics of the usage of our students, as well as do tracking of reports and for us to establish case studies. Since using NEO, it's so much easier to track the attendance, the grades of our students, and also we can see which students are having difficulty in which subjects because of the competency tracking and mastery. And also, we are able to provide them with intervention activities so that we can assess students and help them if they are struggling with their academics.
Our methodology is really based on an outcome-based approach, wherein we make sure that our students, the skills that they learn, are put into practice. These are exercises and activities wherein we make sure that whatever they apply are based on industry standards.
We encourage the teachers by making them realize the value of using the platform. So as a teacher, it makes their life easier because it lessens their paperworks. They get automated results as far as student quizzes are concerned. And also, as a training participant, it helps their skill development. Even after training, they can access modules, they can practice what they learned, and we can also track their performance after the training. My favorite features are the drip content. It allows you to release content in a sequential manner, so it doesn't give you the entire module at one time.
One of the most remarkable features of NEO LMS that goes beyond the usual classroom setting is that students can cope up with their lessons and they could even submit their assignments on time, even if they are not physically present in school. The students become more engaged and they are more participative during classroom discussion. With the help of the analytics in the NEO LMS, it's a tool to track students' progress. So by means of that, we could give them more activities in order for them to catch up with the lessons.
What I love about NEO is that it helps me to stay organized as a student. I can do my schoolworks even when I'm on the go. I don't need to always carry a laptop with me because it's accessible. I can have my phone and then it's just a touch of a finger. And I can review, I can submit papers, know my deadlines and my tasks, which is very handy for me.
Since STI takes an outcome-based education approach, we see to it that our students understand the lesson and apply it to their lives, especially when they do their assignments, outputs, and other projects. For me, the most helpful feature on NEO is that the files are secured. I can easily extract them anytime and wherever I may be. I am also confident enough that the students are aware of the deadlines and also our class schedules.
My teachers use NEO in a way that they make us students engaged and very interactive in class because we have this visual guide where we can actually see the things that they are explaining to us, discussing to us, so that way we're able to cope up with everything that they are explaining to us in class.
Feedback from our teachers is that currently they are able to appreciate it more because the exercises are there. So in the past, when there are students who are not able to cope up with the different activities, they have to come up with their own. But with the ELMS, when they tell us, can we have more activities and exercises on a particular competency, then because it's real time, in about a day or two, we are able to share it with them across the network. So the teachers are able to give more exercises, assessments, and different modules to help our students learn better and achieve the outcomes that we want them to achieve at the end of the day.
It might interest you to know that STI has more than 70 campuses nationwide, and all of them use NEO LMS. For our next panelist, he is a full-time faculty in English and Linguistics for the last 18 years, teaching in the baccalaureate and graduate school. His educational administration experience ranges from being an admin assistant to the university's executive vice president, serving as the director for the Marketing Communications Office. He then spent several years as the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Academic Services before entering the position he is currently serving for the last 3 years. He initiated the development of the Educational Technology Center, which started the adoption of e-learning in his university. He implemented quality management systems in the academics and has championed quality initiatives in the university set by the PAASCU and the ASEAN University Network on Quality Assurance. He completed his bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees in English Studies from the University of the Philippines. Without further ado, to talk about a care-centered model for online learning, the current Vice Chancellor for Academics and Research of De La Salle University, Dasmarinas, Dr. Marco Saez.
Thank you, Ms. Flo. Hello, everyone, to the 3,000 Facebook live viewers. Good morning to all of you. I'll pick up from the comprehensive presentation of Dr. James and zero in on one leadership trait that I think is very crucial, especially at this time. By the way, I'd like to apologize if I don't look like anymore the picture that you saw in the pub-ad. Maybe that's the effect of COVID. That's the effect of the pandemic. And I guess it has affected so many. It's been 4 months and since suspensions of institutions have started and everyone is still uncertain. Everyone is still clueless about what the future holds. If you are actually going to look at the social media accounts of our students and even teachers, you would find emoticons that would show or be attributed to depression. You would find a sad face, you would find a clueless face, you would find a face lurking in the dark, as if not having any idea of what to do next. And that's something that reverberated to us because even if we were successfully able to shift immediately to fully online because of our learning management system, still this feeling of, should I say, discomfort and even probably distrust on the system resounds. It doesn't go away. So we try to ask ourselves, what else is missing in the mix? We already have the teachers, we already have the technology, particularly the platform, but still these sentiments are coming out. We realized that in the survey that we conducted during the end of the semester, which was May 30, 9 out of 10 students, there were 3,000 respondents, 9 out of 10 students felt that there are more important things other than studying. 7 to 8 out of 10 students felt or questioned their productivity, especially at this time. So studying was really affected because of this pandemic. And probably it would take more than high technology to address this concern. Hence, that leads us to our topic for today, which is care-centered model for online learning. What I will do is I will give you a preview of the journey, of the ongoing journey actually, that we have been taking to develop this care-centered model for online learning. In the process, I hope to give you or cite some examples on how technology played a role in helping us realize this vision of ours. The talk is structured based on the definition that you see in front of your screen. It's empathy. So it means it's more than sympathy. Based on the definition, it's the ability to actually see the situation of the other person from the eyes of that person. It's not just merely understanding it, but really putting yourself into that situation. And the next element would be, once you actually put yourself in that situation, what actions can you do to actually help resolve that situation? So those are the two vital elements of empathy. Those are the two vital elements of care. And those are the two things that would structure the rest of the slides that I'll be presenting. By the way, I'll only be presenting 9 slides. So the first principle in arriving at empathy would be this. I think for school leaders, it is important to constantly remind ourselves that not everything is about us. Especially this pandemic, we really need, as Doc James said, we really need to be proactive and go out of our way to reach out even to our middle managers. Remember or be mindful that everyone is disoriented during this time, but you as the head of the institution, if you're familiar with the series The Crown, should not flinch because everyone will fall down. It may be an unfair situation, but deal with it, manage it, because that's something that goes with the job. Concretely, the organization has become flat because of this. Instead of people lining up, offering their suggestions to you, or people waiting to be scheduled for a vacancy in your appointment, you find yourselves now calling people and using technology to reach out to these people. Because again, they're so disoriented that the last thing they would think about is other things other than themselves. So as a leader, it's important to think about others. And if you think about yourself all the time, that would be hard to do. That would be hard to perform or to carry out. You must try to go out of yourself, not be consumed by your own concerns, but try to understand the concerns of the community. So listen carefully. Not everything is about you. This is, aside from it being a reiteration of the first principle, it is also an introduction of the first principle, highlighting on the concept of listening. Listening is a very important factor that would help you arrive at decisions. Listening would mean you getting feedback, creating focus group discussions, and being accessible as to many testaments and concerns as you can. It's really a hard task and it requires courage because it's not all the time that the voices that you will hear will be something that would be appealing to you. Some of them might also be hurtful, but that's part of it. Sometimes God works in very weird ways. Those that are hurtful are actually diamonds in the roughs. And normally, you would actually find solutions from there. So just try to have a thick face, be humble, and see the beauty, and try to I guess, see past the way it's said, and just focus on the substance of what is being shared. During the pandemic, we have been very, should I say, diligent in conducting various surveys just to know the sentiments of our stakeholders. And that's really important because the sentiments, as this pandemic is so uncertain, the sentiments also change from time to time. So you cannot just rest on one. So there must always be a constant connection with your stakeholders, constant consultation with your stakeholders. Even until now, as we conduct our weekly training seminar for our faculty, we still consult and ask our faculty about their comments regarding the activities that we are doing. If I may share, through the learning management system, so this is my own personal learning management system, we would actually use this not just for our students, but even for the activities that we're conducting for our faculty. The system can actually be helpful in arriving at analytics. Okay, so that's the assessment. And determining the sentiments of your faculty. So the learning management system that has been with us for 10 years has evolved and extended its use not just to our students, but even to our other stakeholders. So this is an example of how we actually try to connect, get feedback. By the way, if you can read it, the Marco there is not me. It's another Marco who conducted a webinar on educaring. So this is one of the ways in which technology, particularly our learning management system, helped us in trying to connect and getting feedback from our stakeholders. Another principle under that part one of how to understand and be in the shoes of that person is that you need to understand that empathy or caring is a two-way process. It's not just your stakeholders making themselves available or making their feelings and situations accessible to you, but it's also you as administrator making your situation, or at least the university situation, accessible to your stakeholders. As much as you can, and as the law provides, as long as you need to be transparent, because that the decisions and the measures that you'll be taking would be more acceptable, and the stakeholders would be more understanding of the situation if they know about the situation. I have noticed lately that since the pandemic, our learning management system has become more than a system for learning. It has actually become a system for community building and mobilization of support. That's how the learning management system in our context has actually evolved. If I may again show you, you would notice that in the home page, in the news section, the news that you would find there are not just for lessons, they're not just for assessments that students will take. You would find actually there some quotes from the Bible, announcements of seminars, well, that's CYPHER Learning, and even virtual job career fair. It has also helped me, there's an invitation for a Jedi training. It has also helped me disseminate information as far as the memos and the responses that I would give are concerned. So it's really now become a platform for community building. It has not limited its function to learning as well. So we use that also to show the support that we gave during the pandemic, the mental health support that we give to our faculty and students, the access to our library, to our e-library, and the memos and the responses that we give to our students, especially about whenever they have concerns about the system or the way we are carrying it out. So those are three things that would actually, three basic principles that would actually help us try to be in the shoes and respond to the situation of our stakeholders. The next one is, it's important that once you realize this, that empathy is something that should not stop from empathizing. It should translate into actions. Right now, through the surveys, the comments, the results of the focus group discussions we've had, we developed certain programs, implementing rules and regulations and policies that again, we would make available in our learning management system to facilitate comments, among other things. Later on, I'll be showing you how our high school unit was able to successfully translate and concretize the caring model that we are trying to espouse and working on. So basically, we're working under the principle that no one will learn productively if no one feels cared for. And I guess to go back to the first question, to the earlier question that I gave, what would now be the role of technology, particularly the learning management system, in the mix? Because again, before, we were trying to figure out why these concerns are still coming up. I guess to answer that, the role of the technology now would be how it could best realize the vision that you have for learning. And because if however high-tech technology is, if it cannot be aligned to how you envision the learning activity to be, then it wouldn't have an impactful effect to your students. In our case, we are thankful that the technology that we're using was able to help us in getting across not just knowledge, not just wisdom, but care, the feeling of being human to our students. So basically, this is the path that we went through. We tried to get out of ourselves, listen to people and conduct focus group discussions, try to be transparent to them as much as possible, arrive at solutions through our course, our policies, our programs, and invite them to take part and be on board to this solution. Because nothing can ever be sustainable if no one would be contributing to the success of this endeavor. if I may go back to Yuri's statement a while ago, I guess he was asking what makes a platform great. I guess what makes a platform great would be the people that are manning the platform. And again, because my mother would usually say, war is won not by, ano ba yun? War is won not by weapons. A war is won by men. And if you consider this situation as a war, in which we have to survive and hopefully come out successful, you need good men to help you envision or to help you realize the vision that you have for learning. Thankfully, we have people not just inside the campus, but also outside, like CYPHER Learning, to help us achieve this vision. And it's not really about the technology all the time. It's sometimes the people behind that technology. And in the 10 years that we've had with them, I think that has been developed and fortified clearly. Right now, we're still in the dark. I cannot claim that we have fully come out of the dark, but the emoticons hopefully would change. From the sad to the depressed emoticons, hopefully it will progress into this care emoticon. This is a care emoticon developed even during the pandemic. And hopefully, by the next months or so, and as we go through this journey of caring and using technology to get across that feeling, more icons of caring would come out from the social media accounts of our stakeholders. That's it for me. Thank you very much, Ms. Flo. I'll probably cue in now for the video that we would like to share to our Facebook viewers.
Good afternoon, parents and students. I'm Ms. Ursulian Biñas from the Humanities and Social Sciences Department of the LSUD Senior High School. I'm here today to give you an overview on how De La Salle University Dasmarinas High School will be handling our online classes next semester through our ANIMO strategy and the 4 C's of learning skills in the 21st century. The global pandemic has impacted the way instructors teach and communicate with their students. Technology has never been more necessary than it is today. Educational technology can assist schools in many aspects. It is therefore vital that teachers and administrators choose the proper Edtech, which teachers in turn can effectively use within the classroom or online classes. Educators can upload any style of digital media, files for lessons. For example, it may be in a form of audio or video recording that is suited to auditory or visual learners. We make sure that these resources are available to our students through the school's online learning platform. Our online learning platform, fondly known as Schoolbook, addresses numerous challenges schools and teachers face and is one in every of the foremost comprehensive solutions to the ever-changing set up in basic education. Schoolbook has been meeting many alternative needs of the teachers and students since 2016. Teachers have been empowered to set up their classes, and it has led to quality teaching to complement face-to-face classes. As times progress, the need for quality education using alternative means is here, and Schoolbook provides the kind of education our high school aims to promote as education goes fully online. This platform is powerful and modern with an easy-to-use interface, a fully responsive design that works on all devices such as mobile phones, iPads, laptops, and desktop computers with an internet connection. Schoolbook can be accessed anywhere. When it comes to assessments, every action taken by the students is tracked, stored, and analyzed for student learning and transparency purpose as well. One highlight feature is the gradebook. where teachers can post the grades of different activities and students can track their progress. These assessments are designed to comply with the most essential learning competencies, or MELCs, set by the Department of Education. Moreover, every class is designed with gamified learning to encourage student engagement. Students get to earn points and badges while seeing their names on the class leaderboard. These are small increments of positive reinforcement to build up their confidence during the learning process. Gamified learning activities, especially those created online, can incorporate bits of instant feedback for students so that concepts remain clear and pave the way to great learning outcomes. Attending a fully online class can be fun and engaging, even when we aim for all students to continue learning. Now, the 4 C's are by far the most popular 21st century skills. These skills are also called learning skills. Learning skills teaches students about the mental processes required to adapt and improve upon a modern work environment. I firmly believe that we cannot give what we do not have. More educators know about these skills because they're universal needs for any career. We in the LSUD High School see to it that we do what we preach. The first C is collaboration. The teachers in high school are collaborating by means of sharing resources and materials that is needed in every class. We have common materials that we use in different classes, and of course, we have different strategies on the delivery of every topics. Another instance that we do collaboration in our class is the performance task. It is like hitting 2 birds in 1 stone. So, ginagawa namin, merong 2 subject or 3 subject na nagko-collaborate, and we will produce 1 outcome para hindi masyadong nahihirapan yung mga estudyante. So, isang outcome lang, pero 2 or 3 subject yung nahihit niya with the learning competency na nakaset dun sa subject na yon. So, we also have this CSAT. We call this Courses Integration and Collaboration Assessment Task. So, in CSAT, we usually give out the steps that they need to do when performing a task. So doon po nakapaloob lahat ng mga dapat nilang gawin, ano yung magiging outcome at ano yung mapoproduce. Okay? Then second C is critical thinking. This is all about creating open challenges for students that require research and analysis of information along with problem solving and analytic thinking. We usually encourage our students to think open-mindedly, think of solutions to complex problems. Then third C is communication. The quality of our ideas is meaningless if you talk no good, because communicating your purpose to others is an essential part of determining the success or failure of an endeavor. We give clear, specific, and detailed instructions for the students to be able to understand the task that they need to do. We use different kinds of instructions like audio recording for our auditory learners and video recording for our visual learners. Another good feature of Schoolbook is the immersive reader to help our dyslexic students. Creativity. We encourage our students to think outside the box. It is also being open and responsive to new and diverse perspectives. Being innovative will continue to be a key driver. By giving opportunities and environment that allow students to be curious seekers of new knowledge, we lead them to exercise their creative muscles. The most recent advancement on the 21st century skills movement has added more C into the framework. That is computational thinking, character, citizenship, and computer digital technology. If there's one thing I'd like you to take away from today's presentation, it is from the 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 to 7. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in the due time. Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this short webinar. I'm inviting you to join us next Saturday, July 11, for another webinar where...
Thank you, Dr. Saez. Our next panelist considers herself a lifelong learner by advocacy. Her passion is seen in medicine as she has been a physician for the past 27 years, a practicing otolaryngologist, head and neck surgeon for 22 years, and she is also a wife and mother. She wears many hats. She considers herself an accidental academician for 14 years now in both educational and professional fields. She is a graduate of the University of Santo Tomas in BS Physical Therapy and Doctor of Medicine and Surgery. She took her residency for otolaryngology, head and neck surgery at the UP-PGH, and completed a fellowship in head and neck microvascular surgery at the Queen Mary Hospital of the University of Hong Kong. She is a diplomate of the Philippine Board of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery, a fellow of the Philippine Society of Otolaryngology, the American Academy of Otolaryngology, and the Philippine Society for Cosmetic Surgery. She graduated as a Dean's Lister at the University of the Philippines Open University with a degree in Master of Distance Education and is currently doing her dissertation at the De La Salle University for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Educational Leadership and Management. She is also a medical director of the St. Patrick Hospital Medical Center in Batangas City and concurrent head of finance and ancillary services. She authored several researches in the field of otolaryngology, head and neck surgery, as well as in education, with concentration in the field of distance and online education with presentations both locally and internationally. It is our pleasure to introduce the Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of the College of Allied Medical Sciences of the University of Batangas, Dr. Abegayle Perez-Chua.
Thank you, Flo, and thank you to Aviva Publishing for inviting us today, and of course to our partner, CYPHER Learning. Now let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see it now? Okay, so good morning. And I'm glad to see all of you, Yuri, Arlene, Sir James, Sir Marco, and good morning to everybody out there who are watching us right now. Okay, so the topic given to me this morning is future proofing of schools in a VUCA world. Now, I had to think, what did we do to be future-proof, and how did we really prepare our students and our teachers for the tomorrow that is actually now? When
Doc Abby,
we think
share
of
your screen.
yes,
Doc Abby, please share
it's
your
not sharing
screen.
yet. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was sharing already. Okay.
There, we can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so when we talk about future proofing, we have to understand the term, and it's actually different from disaster proofing, which what some people would want to prepare for. But rather, future proofing is a better gauge of what we need to do. So it's a process of anticipating the future and developing methods to minimize the effects and shocks of stresses of future events. So I think every one of us has realized lately how important future proofing is. So it's something that we actually design or do so that we can continue to have success in the future when the situation changes. It is actually anticipation and resiliency rolled into one. Now let's look at the term VUCA. They have said that we actually live in a VUCA world. So what is VUCA? VUCA is an acronym for 4 words that relate to how people view conditions under which they make decisions. It's planning forward, managing risks, foster change, solving problems. In other words, it's how people ready themselves to be able to react to the unpredictable changes beyond your control. So we have volatile for the V, this is the unsure nature of the environment. Next is, and with this is of course uncertainty and complexity, or complex because of the interconnectedness of the cause and effects and the multiple factors that affect us, and ambiguous because there are multiple interpretations to everything that happens to us. So the COVID pandemic is actually V.U.C.A in action. Now, what did we do when the pandemic came on here in the Philippines? So we actually had a choice. It was either we live in hope or we live in fear. So personally, I would rather live in hope rather than be paralyzed in fear. And maybe to explain this better, I can share with you how the University of Batangas, or where we were coming from when all of this happened. So as a backgrounder, we have always had it in our philosophy, vision, and mission to not only provide quality education, but to be accessible. And initially, accessibility denoted a geographic connotation of the physical classroom. Later, it also denoted affordability. But as the years have gone by, it denoted going to other places wherein you can reach other areas. But now accessibility has a different connotation. And this has been brought to us with the use of technology, so that the students and even the teacher can access the teaching and learning materials using technology as an educational tool 24/7 without being bounded by a physical space of the classroom. And again, this also addresses the geographic connotation wherein boundaries are removed and we are provided with a wider reach. So for us at the University of Batangas, we always believed in becoming technology and research driven. So as you can see in this slide, we started with a science high school in 1983. We included technology in the classroom in the early 90s. And later we progressed to using ebooks and introducing robotics from elementary to high school. Of course, this happened over a span of several years. Later, we actually progressed to using learning management systems. We had our own self-made e-Brahman, and then we also tried out other systems like Moodle, and some teachers even tried Edmodo, Schoology, and Google Classroom. But we had to find something that would fit us and fit our students. So this is where CYPHER Learning came in. We made the decision to use NEO LMS. We tried this out for a year before making a complete move. So our LMS is called the UBIAN. And as I said, this is powered by CYPHER Learning. This provides us with several advantages. Being on the cloud, we did not have to bother about having additional hardware and like the servers, which actually can cause everything to slow down. So this was a big advantage for us. For about past 3 to 4 years, we have been using the UBIAN from grades 4 to 12, ETIAP, and graduate school. For grade school, we started as a web presence. And then for junior high school and senior high school, for IT courses and ETIAP, we use this in blended learning. For our junior high and senior high, we actually have an LMS day once a week. So initially, we envisioned this to help us for suspension of classes, for when teachers had to attend meetings, for whatever reason, that learning can continue even if they were not in the physical classroom. So of course, to do this, we had to establish a group that would cater for this, that we call them champ or champions. They will keep the fire burning and ignite others to do the same. And after this, for this year, we also identified what we call champion associates. These champions are in charge of training and retraining, mentoring of faculty on the use of LMS, and the use of technology in teaching and learning. The use of technology in all subjects entails a change in the mindset and the pedagogies used, and not everyone is prepared for this. A selection process was done wherein we identified these 5 champions, and from there, we progressed to training more and more of the teachers until we have trained all of them and proceeded with the use of the UBIAN. Until now, training is continuously updated and is based on the envisioned and perceived needs. So this is our UBIAN LMS. And of course, we never thought back then that shifting gears to use learning management software would actually be a savior with the events that happened to us for this past 2020. As most of you know, we are in Batangas and we were hit by the eruption of Taal last January, and this entailed a suspension of classes for basic education for 3 weeks, and we had to move higher ed for a week. With the LMS, we were able to shift from the classroom setting to a completely online setting. What we didn't realize was that the experience of the Taal eruption was actually a sign, or let's say a dry run, of what happened come March with COVID-19. Now, everything depends on how you look at it. When you have a poor user experience, it would be unconducive and you will not be able to sustain growth. We have been fortunate that we have been trying to prepare our faculty and our students to shift to the use of LMS. Though the 100% shift was not completely painless, we probably had a better experience than most institutions. Futureproofing indeed play a very high role. Early on in March, when the lockdown was started, I realized that it would be close to impossible for us to resume classes for the semester or even summer. And we would be lucky if we would be able to start face-to-face classes during the first sem. So for us, I chose to look at the COVID virus pandemic as a silver lining in the cloud, wherein with a positive perspective, we would be able to rapidly accelerate a more comprehensive integration of technology in teaching and learning, and that now online education would be part of the educational system, a very important part. Now, to show you why I think this will happen, when we look at the coronavirus, this is just a little backgrounder. It's transmitted by airborne or respiratory droplets and close contact. Now, the classroom environment is actually a very ideal place for virus transmission. It is enclosed, there is close contact leading to easy transmission. When you look at this, the incubation period is the time that you are exposed to the virus. It is actually before the onset of your symptoms, and you can be infectious at this stage up to the time that you have symptoms. What is difficult is for the asymptomatic carrier. So we don't know if the person next to us is actually an asymptomatic carrier. And if we're not careful, we can get the virus. The most infectious period is about 1 to 3 days before the symptoms start. The first 7 days after that, the symptoms may begin. So as you see here, it's actually a process. And if we go back to the classroom during this period, we might be spreading the disease more than it has already spread in our country. So these are just some examples of the symptomatic transmission and the asymptomatic transmission and the pre-symptomatic transmission. So this will be very difficult to trace in some cases. That's why the advent of online learning is very important for us these days. What the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about is a change in how education will respond to what is happening. As the pandemic continues to ravage the entire globe, there is serious disruption in educational opportunity. Now, what is left for us to determine is how we respond to that change. The school systems and the government need to establish modalities of education during this period wherein there is necessary social distancing. And of course, we need the cooperation of teachers, students, and parents. And we hope that through this, students and teachers will realize that having the LMS and going towards online learning is actually the way for us to respond to the COVID virus. So here are just some guidelines for educational institutions during COVID-19. So this will fit not only higher ed, but also basic ed. We should all work together with the local government and the health department to help in slowing down the spread of the virus, to protect vulnerable students, and to keep our staff, faculty members safe, and to ensure that we are in a healthy learning environment. And providing a means to bring education to the doorstep of every student by any means is the best thing that we can actually do as educational institution. There should be no child or no student left behind. Education should continue. We should look at the COVID-19 pandemic as a catalyst for change. It is clear that this has totally disrupted the educational system, but maybe moving online can create more methods for us to educate our students. And although some may worry about the hastiness of moving to the online environment, we should continue to learn and to study so that we can manage this change. So I'll go back to V.U.C.A. Now, we can change what V.U.C.A means. We can take it into a positive manner. So let's change volatility to vision, uncertainty to understanding, complexity to clarity, and ambiguity to agility. First, teachers need to have an aptitude to learn. The desire to learn will help the teachers attain the necessary knowledge and the skill set to anticipate the challenges of the future. They must be, they should realize that there are things that they have to unlearn. And of course, we will experience failures in the process, but we should take this as a learning experience. And we should never be afraid to shift gear. Reforms have to happen, and schools should lead in these reforms, and that's of the utmost importance. We should embrace the change and have strategic insights to anticipate V.U.C.A conditions and counter them with strategies, processes, and crisis management, and plans to mitigate the difficult times. Change agents like teachers, the administration, students, and parents must learn to anticipate and embrace the change in ways, or else they will lose their relevance in a rapidly changing world. Here I have a picture of our CHED chairman, and he has really advocated that schools work together through bayanihan. We can help each other in meeting the challenges that we now face. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And Thank you, and I hope that I was able to contribute something today. And I think we have a video next.
University of Batangas immediately followed the protocol from the time that the government ordered the cancellation of classes. Every single staff of the institution kept on reminding the students to stay at home. They even conducted face-to-face study via online. And we were able to utilize all the possibilities of using our social media like Facebook, Messenger, YouTube, and of course we have this platform which was introduced by our institution years ago, the Learning Management System. Actually, it is very easy to access LMS. The resources needed are just stable Wi-Fi connection and for us to be engaged in this kind of platform. LMS is accommodating for us students and teachers to interact even though we are far from each other. It helped us in performing our tasks in different subjects. In fact, even the faculty members are active users of LMS. They're even so much updated to the trends of using the platform. It also challenged us to be versatile in this fast-changing world. Technology-wise, I am proud to say that our group as students are really one among many learners nationwide who have the latest and farthest knowledge about this blended learning. And thankfully, we knew about this blended learning before the unexpected crisis happened. Otherwise, we might not enhance our academic performance. And as previous user to the said platform, we can even help the next batch of Brahma students to be well adjusted on the use of the UBN LMS.
I find UBN LMS very efficient in terms of accessibility because anytime and anywhere, with just an online connection, I can log in easily by typing my username and password. For me, UBN LMS is really easy to use because the interface is user-friendly and has an intuitive design, which makes the whole experience more enjoyable and productive. UBN LMS have so much to offer. When I use the online platform, it is really easy to use and to navigate with less supervision of our parents or guardians.
As a junior high school student who have experienced both online learning and traditional learning, I would say that online learning really made it easier for us students. It is with no doubt that the LMS has been a convenience to us students as we can access and log into classes easily and we can pass our requirements anywhere we are just as long as we have our gadgets with us. It is less time consuming. The LMS doesn't require us to stay for a 1-hour class every subject like how traditional learning works. It has provided us with continuous education. Because of the LMS, we haven't fallen behind in terms of the learning process. We still kept going despite of all the difficulties. And to be more specific, even at the hardest times of the Taal volcano eruption and the recent lockdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we were still able to pass all the needed requirements.
Quality education should always be pursued at all circumstances. Thank you sa Learning Management System or LMS ng University of Batangas. Kahit na may pandemic, learning never stops. So yung kanilang mga topics and lessons, na-cover pa rin nila yung last month nila. And also yung mga requirements, natapos pa rin nila kahit hindi sila pumapasok sa school. As I observe, my kids get to develop being more independent, self-discipline, at yung pagkakaroon ng time management. And most of all, I get to enjoy of not waking them up too early for school kasi we're 7 kilometers away from the university. Tapos, kailangan gumising ng mas maaga, mag-prepare, makipag-unahan sa jeep, at haharapin ang nakaka-stress na traffic. With LMS, walang ganong stress, kaya masaya. Thank you so much and God bless University of Batangas.
Thank you, Doc Abby. So flexibility in amidst the times of V.U.C.A. That's basically the message for all our panelists. So now we'd like to invite all the panelists to please turn on your video so our viewers can see your beautiful and handsome faces. Okay, I'm going to group the questions that we gathered from the comments. I'll just throw you the questions, related questions, and anyone can answer in any order, okay? So they are asking, what is the difference between NEO and other similar platforms? Is it safe for both learners and teachers? Is it safe for preschoolers? What is the best LMS to apply to slow learners? And on the other end, how do we encourage our school to adapt LMS rather than corporate apps like Teams? Do we have local support? And how can we avail of training if we are from a public school? So I hope you remember the questions, but anyone can answer any of those questions. Okay. Yes, Sir Yuri?
Well, there are many questions, and I think it's better to talk about the product from our customers. They have the first experience in front. But I just want to talk about consolidation. When we're thinking about integrating a learning management system in our schools, we also have to think about the platform that can consolidate the strategy in a smart way. It's not only about how we have technology, but how we can bring that technology to integrate different things. For example, one of those questions is corporate tools, Microsoft Teams, Google Classroom. So in our case, CYPHER Learning Tools, Matrix and NEO, we can integrate them all. And that's part of the strategy. We don't want the schools and organizations to spend more money. If there's some additional tools already in the market that we can embed or integrate in a simpler way, let's move on that direction. You don't have to invest in more things. If you have a free alternative with corporate tools or better tools that you have already as part of your strategy, let's bring them together. Our strategy at CYPHER Learning is to consolidate all those tools in a very friendly environment. And I'm going to answer another one. Usability is one of the greatest things we have. It's one of the simplest systems and most beautiful in the market. You don't have to mess with technology. You have the power of focus on developing the best content possible and the best experience for your learners. So that's also important. And if you have Teams, fine, we have an integration with Teams. If you have Classroom, we have an integration with all the Google Classroom tools and about to deliver something else. We have integration with more than 1,000 different applications. But the most important part, we are that table where we can bring all the tools you have and then deliver the best experience possible for the students. So that's an advantage, and also a very Filipino advantage. We have a fantastic team in the Philippines, and all our customers know about that. And we have a Filipino heart in the middle of the strategy. And that's also important. Our strategy in front of our customers is related, and this is a great advantage. It's related to be Filipino. I myself have been there. And one of the greatest things we have is that this team, Filipino team, is not based on engineers. It's based on teachers, on people with real experience on the challenge that teachers and students are facing. So if you want a learning management system, I think we're thinking about an intelligent learning platform. And that means let's bring all these components together and build the best experience for your customers.
I guess that's also how they can encourage their school institutions to adapt this learning platform. What about in terms of the users? Is it safe for both learners and teachers, for preschoolers? And does it apply to slow learners? Anyone from the group?
Yeah.
Yes, Doc James.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, well, I really wanted to share details of this because I said that we made use of LMS for 3 years already, a NEO LMS, from senior high school to graduate school. It was institutionalized. And we made a decision that we will also use the same platform for a junior high school and elementary. And in our planning, we made it a point that the way technology will be used will be such that it will really be very friendly to even a kindergarten pupil. To the extent that, we have a video we wanted to send, but it's really like a big data. That's why it could not reach Arlene probably on time. But for example, even a kindergarten who listens to that video can easily access to the LMS because there's like a small cartoon, Mr. G, trying to tell the kindergarten pupil to connect to LMS and what shall you want, what will she do if she forgot her password, and so on and so forth. So we really made a lot of adjustments to the extent that we told even our elementary teachers that we will do videotaping of them dancing and then singing a song and all that because, well, again, we will not really make use of technology as if technology is everything, because we always say technology will only be part of our accompaniment to ensure there's learning. It has been a challenge because, well, I showed to you one of my slides earlier on. If you don't have a platform and go into like the other platforms readily available, Messenger and the like, well, you will really see the difference of having a platform that can give you all the things that you need to do. I can easily tell you because when we first started using LMS, well, there are things we wanted to see, but every now and then there are developments. And I was as excited that my LMS head was sharing to me that there was now a rubrics attached to checking an essay, for example. And I can just really imagine how things can be made easy for the teachers because, again, they can score there. It's really paperless and so on and so forth. They can compute the grades in there, the analytics that will tell if there's a degree of difficulty on the kind of test made, it will be addressed. So, well, I really wanted a more detailed presentation on this because also what we also wanted to also tell is, are the parents, I mean, in terms of making the assessment or learning task, probably parents will be the ones to do it. But you see, we really have to plan out that there will be like safeguards so that we ensure that there will be like sacredness of the exams that we give. So in summary, what I'd like to tell is that we make the necessary adjustments to be sure that even a kindergarten will be able to appreciate and can easily connect to the system later on. So that's it.
Thank you, Doc James. Maybe there will be a future venue for you to show that presentation. I'm sure CYPHER and Abegayle will find a way.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that technology accompanies learning. So we got a lot of similar questions that has something to do with limitation in internet connection and gadgets. So how do you design flexible learning activities without those, aside from modules? And somebody even suggested, are USB okay to use? Are USB?
Okay. So anyway, that should also have been part of a sharing. Let me go straight. When we designed our flexible learning system, well, we decided that we will use our old blended learning, which is a combination of online and face-to-face. But that eventually we're not allowed face-to-face, therefore we remain to be online. But you see, using online learning would also mean either you can be synchronous or asynchronous. I described that towards the end of my sharing. And that the connectivity is such that you can only do synchronous if all of your students have very strong connection, which is why we make a little adjustments if in the locality of your students, connection could be nil or intermittent, as they would describe it, then you do asynchronous so that the student can come into the system or can open his platform, the LMS, when the signal in his area can be strong. Now, to expand that further, we address those with full connectivity, with partial connectivity, and those without connectivity. That's the one we do the modular. And the modular, we call it the correspondence learning modality 1 and 2. Modality 1, it comes in as a module or like a booklet to be given to the students. And the other one, those who would prefer that they come to school to get, or parents probably will come and get the lessons through flash drive or stick, or if it will be more convenient for them to do it via email, we will do all those means. But again, there will always be all safeguards in terms of the sending of all these materials. So I said in my presentation, we allow the Filipino to learn in any way possible because that's the true spirit of flexible learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Is there anyone else from the group who wants to share their insights or other tips? Yes, Doc Marco?
I can contribute.
It's okay. Doc Abby first.
Doc Abby first. Okay, Doc Abby.
Okay. For us, the selection of the LMS was actually a process. It didn't happen overnight, and we tried several platforms before finally deciding on getting NEO LMS. So I myself am a product of Moodle because that's what we used at UPOU. So we tried that initially, and some teachers also tried other platforms. But there was always a difficulty in the hardware because you had to have servers that was constantly up, and everything is stored in your own server. Unlike with NEO LMS, it was stored in a cloud, so we didn't have to constantly check on our own server. So that was actually a big factor in our selection process. And we actually tried NEO LMS for a sample size of 400 students for an entire year before we finally made the big move in subscribing everybody to NEO LMS. And I think that we made the right choice, not only because of the technology and the hardware concerns that we experienced before, but also, truthfully, it was also more affordable for our students because most of our students come from the lower B and C class. So having an LMS that was more expensive was not really an option for us. So going with NEO LMS and CYPHER Learning actually provided us with the support that we needed as far as the cloud storing. They gave us all the support that we needed also for training. And that's why actually maybe Sir James will agree, it's so hard to say no when they invite us for something because when we invite them, they say yes right away. So it's a partnership. And that's very important in implementing this, especially at this time where everything is really up in the air. So everyone's doing their best for their students. That's it.
Thank you, Doc Abby. So it seems to be a solution that carries everything. You can integrate everything, but is affordable. So where else can you find that? Some of the questions that came up are actually more specific to the schools. Like if they have a small population, but they're subscribing to this certain package, and others are asking about training. So do we have time to answer those, or maybe Sir John later on can just tell them how to get in touch with us for us to address those questions, the specific questions?
So is it okay if I add a little bit more to what Doc James and Doc Abby mentioned?
Yes, Doc Marco, go ahead.
It's true. It's cloud-based. And it's true, it's also more cost-effective compared to others. But I think what really create an impact for us is the kind of relationship that was created, not by the technology, but by the people behind the technology. I guess it's not just the only cloud-based technology that we have nowadays, but the people behind that would actually help you really achieve your vision. And that's very important for us. We don't want to communicate with people who do not understand us. And as a user of this LMS, it was very, I guess I can speak for all of us, it was very easy for us to get in touch, to seek help, and to find solutions, especially even during this pandemic. If you would just allow me, Flo, there was a question also about safety. Although I really don't know how to interpret that. Is it safety from pornography, safety from whatever? But depending on the grade level, I think Doc James already started that. Well, you could stick with your with your child if you're in grade school or high school. But if you're the kind of parent who would still like to be involved in college or even grad school, then there is a feature in the LMS that would allow you for a parent account if you want to monitor. At least it may not be prevented, or maybe it may be a preventive measure, or at least may not be too late if you have that monitoring account. Just to add to the training, that's correct, NEO LMS is very accessible, but I think to make it sustainable, what NEO LMS did was to create champions. I think that was mentioned by Doc Chua, Doc Abby. I think it's important that we try to also empower our community, and from there come up with trainers ourselves, so that it won't always be NEO LMS, and we could even localize and inject our own flavor as what probably have happened to us. With regard to the design module, that's correct. What we did in LaSalle is we tried to limit the number of synchronous hours, because based on the survey that we've had, more than 50% of our students really would have a hard time, and even our faculty would really have a hard time connecting. So as much as possible, we try to limit the synchronous, or when you say synchronous, it's real time, and hopefully give that student or that teacher the leeway to plan ahead and save data perhaps when that time will appear. We're working on other things, but I don't want to jinx it. Hopefully to help more as far as the needs of our students and faculty are concerned.
Yes, that's why the operative term is flexible learning. We do everything we can to address the needs of our learners. So thank you very much to all our panelists for your insights, your experiences, for sharing with us your experiences with NEO. Before I turn us over to our last speaker for the closing, maybe I will just segue into the invitation. We are